Hey, what's going on, family? Sir here, and I have an amazing guest for you today, Savaun Perry with Easer Legal. Now, this is not the most sexy subject, but it's one of those subjects that I believe we all need to educate ourselves on and be prepared. Have these difficult conversations now, so when life happens, because not if, life is going to happen, we're not caught off guard and we are fully protected and protecting our loved ones. So, with that said, I'm about to bring on Miss Savaun Perry with Easer Legal. Forgive me. What's going on?
Hey, sir. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for making time in your day and sharing, being willing to share your knowledge and expertise in this subject matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, I'm going to jump right in.
Okay.
Um, Talking about estate planning, wills, and trust.
Yeah.
Uh, Tell us, well, first, before I jump right in, I gave you a quick introduction. Can
Yeah.
you tell us who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I am Savaun Perry. I am owner of Easer Legal Solutions. I practice Social Security disability and estate planning law. And that's what I do professionally. I also teach at North Carolina Central University. I am a mother of 4 children. I am a wife. I am a daughter, sister. I'm all the things you all are. I'm all that.
Nice. So basically, you're Superwoman. Um,
By the grace of God.
yes, and so you just casually put it out there, like you teach at North Carolina Central. So
Yeah.
we met. We went to the best, in my opinion, the best law school.
But I don't know what the sign is. Is it? Do people do a sign? I don't know.
I don't know.
Today there's a sign, Eagles.
Yeah. So we are legal eagles.
Yes.
And so, no, again, that's how I first met you and your husband. First question is, who needs estate planning? Who needs a will or a trust?
Sure. So everybody needs some kind of estate plan. Every adult over the age of 18. When we think of estate planning, people think that that is something that, oh, only old people need, or only someone who's diagnosed with a terminal illness needs an estate plan. But I'm here to tell you, baby, everybody needs one, because I like to tell my clients and prospective clients that estate planning does three things. Number three. Number one, estate planning protects you. It protects you while you are alive. So my approach to estate planning is a comprehensive approach. It's a holistic approach, meaning that we're not just talking about who gets what when you pass away. We're talking about how do you protect yourself in the event of an emergency. God forbid something happens. Americans are living longer than ever, and the likelihood that something may happen to you at any point, there's a good chance. So if you cannot make decisions for yourself, who's going to make those decisions? Who's going to pay your rent? Who's going to pay your mortgage? Who's going to make sure that your credit doesn't tank because you were sick in the hospital recovering? Who can access your accounts and negotiate on your behalf? So number one, it protects you. Number two, it protects your hustle, right? People are working so hard. They are grinding. They are getting patents and LLCs and trademarks, and all of those things are so important. But if you don't appoint somebody to make those decisions, if something happens to you, whether something happens to you for 3 days or 3 months or 3 years, everything that you've created was in vain. So it protects you, protects your hustle. And then lastly, but most important, it protects your family. And that's the piece where we talk about who takes care of your children if something happens to you. It's the time where we talk about who gets what, the part of estate planning that people typically associate with estate planning. So protects you, protects your hustle, protects your family.
No, you raise excellent points. Now, one thing that even when I have this conversation with people that I don't mention is when you're incapacitated, but when you're not able to function
Yeah,
as you normally do, you
yeah.
do need people to look after you, and who's going to do that.
That's when
So,
it gets really messy, sir.
mhm,
I've seen so many situations when someone is in the hospital, tensions sometimes are running high.
mhm,
Families sometimes don't know who's in charge to make what decision,
yeah,
and then conflicts arise, and sometimes wounds occur that can never be restored or healed from. God forbid, if something happens to me and I'm in the hospital, I'm not the kind of person who I'm gonna want a bunch of pictures of me on Facebook and social media, like, pray for Savaun.
Yeah. Well, you know me. I don't post anything. I'm with you on that. Most
But
personal
some
things
people
is
don't mind. Some
yeah.
people don't mind. So the
Yeah.
last thing I want is somebody in charge of making my medical decisions having people coming in and taking pictures with me. And some people don't mind, right?
Yeah, that
So
is true.
you really want to make sure, and that's just one example, but you really want to make sure that the people you empower to make
Mhm.
those important decisions for you are consistent with your philosophies and ideals of what you want to happen.
So I guess this goes into the next question I have for you is how do I have that conversation with my mom? How do you recommend I initiate that conversation with my parents about their estate? So
All
how do
I
I broach that conversation?
all I got to do is stay black and die, right? And those are things that they're going to happen.
Yeah.
So we have to beat around the bush. So many communities and of the Black community and different components of the Black diaspora community
Mhm.
feel like creating a state plan is somehow speaking negativity over my life, is somehow calling something bad to happen to me. And no, what you are doing is you are making smart decisions while you have a sound mind and
Mhm.
an able body to protect yourself and to protect your family. It's using wisdom for something that will happen at some point in your life. So I have a couple of ways to broach this topic because some people of a certain generation or certain culture will have difficulty talking about this. Number
Yes.
one, hey, mom or dad, did you see what happened to Chadwick Boseman? He passed away and he had a $3 million estate, and the court costs and fees took 1 million of those dollars. It took 2 years for his estate to be settled. And that's crazy to me. Have you and dad thought about a plan for yourself? $1 million being lost forever is something that's probably preventable. Have you all thought about this? Another way
No,
is,
that's an excellent using current events to bring
yeah,
in yeah, I like that. I like that a
yeah.
lot.
Another way is to shift the conversation from death, right?
Hmm.
Let's talk about, remember I said number one, it protects you. So
Yes.
let's talk about, hey, mom, if something happens to you, who do you want to be in charge of making your medical decisions, right? You've got 4 kids. And I don't want to be fighting. I'm the oldest. I feel like it should be me. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, I feel like, who do you want to make those decisions? And when they say, I haven't thought about it, and they say, well, I think we should think about this because I want you to have the person you want to make those decisions. Have you seen what's happened to Wendy Williams? She never appointed somebody to make these decisions, and a court did. So we don't know she doesn't have the power over her health care. Complete strangers do. And I would never want something like that to happen to you. I
And
got
you
a third
said,
one for you.
oh, third one, go for it. Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. And the last way is, mom or dad, I have a consultation for an estate plan for myself. I want to make sure your grandchildren are protected. God forbid should something ever happen to me or my husband. And I would really like you to be a part of my estate planning process. Can you join me for the consult? And so what happens is it takes the pressure off of mom and dad.
Yeah.
Now they are watching this happen, and they have an opportunity to ask the attorney who you're having a consult with questions. They'll really get to hear the benefits, and it won't be a personal thing for them. So my third way is to lead by example. Go ahead and start your plan. You're not too old. You're not too young. Go ahead.
I love it. I love it. Now, for everybody, I hope you're definitely listening and paying attention, taking notes. Attorney Perry's contact information will be in the description below. You can feel free to reach out to her, schedule a consultation, and ultimately prepare and plan for your estate. To double back to the Chadwick Boseman and the taxes that came out of his estate.
He lost about a third.
A
It was
third.
more than just taxes.
Mm-hmm.
When you pass away without an estate plan, it's very public.
Yes.
You can look up how much his funeral costs.
Mm-hmm.
You can look up how much taxes he had. You can look up what he had coming in. You can look up how much his wife got, how much his parents got.
Yeah.
So mom or dad or you If you don't create an estate plan, what your life has been, what all that you've accumulated and all that you've owed will be public record.
Yeah, and then somebody like myself who's private and like yourself, I don't want all that information out there. Now, can you share with us the difference between I hear the terms will and the trust being thrown around. Can you tell us the difference between the two?
I can, but this is
Okay.
going to be a crash course. So,
Crash course, yes. For
yes,
in
well,
depth,
yes,
please reach out to Ms. Perry for a consultation.
yes, a crash course. So, a will is an essential component of your
Mhm.
estate plan. It's a great starting point. If you don't have anything at all, at least do this. When you pass away without an estate plan, we've talked about one, it's public. Two, when you pass away without an estate plan, the state has a plan. Whatever state you live in has a plan for how to distribute your assets. So if you don't create a plan, your state got a plan for you, and you may not agree with that plan, right? I'm sure DMX, who passed away, who, if you know anything about him, he did not have a great relationship with his mother, allegedly. Allegedly he was kicked out and all kinds of traumatic things
Yeah.
happened to him. And who is the person who's making very important decisions about his medical care? Who's the person who's probably going to take from his estate plan because he was not married? Right. So when you don't have a will, the state has a plan. A will directs who do you want to get your assets, number one. A will directs who do you want to appoint to handle all of your affairs after you pass away. That's number two. And typically that's called an executor in many states. A will also appoints who do you want to take care of your children. That's where
Mhm.
you do your guardianship nominations. So in our crash course, 3 things about a will: who gets what, who handles your business, and who takes care of your children. So in general, that's what a will does. Now, when we talk about wills, in general, wills do something called a direct distribution. I leave $10,000 to child A, $10,000 to child B, $10,000 to child C. You're just giving them their money. There are no strings attached to that. If you are interested in having strings attached to your money, that's where a trust comes in.
Yes. So that's a will. Can
Yes.
you dive in and talk to us about a trust?
Yes. So a trust, here's where it's different. A
Mhm.
trust allows you, and again, this is a crash course, a trust allows you to put strings on your money.
What do you
So,
mean by that?
so for example, if I want to leave $10,000 to my child, and we're just using that as an example,
Yeah.
I can say, well, I only want them to have 5,000 when they turn 18, another 2,000 when they turn 25, and then the remaining balance when they turn 30. This is where that generational wealth component comes in, because I put rules on when they can access the money and how much they can get. And that's just an example. I can put rules that if I have a child who's struggling with addiction and substance abuse, that they cannot have money unless they are clean for 2 years. So someone else, a trustee, is managing their expenses for them, but they can never have full control unless they show that they're clean. And these are just examples,
Yeah.
right? So I am putting strings on who can have the money and when they can have it. I'm not just giving it to them. When you give anybody money, and a large sum of money, that money is very vulnerable. And
Yes.
a will sometimes gives an 18-year-old $50,000 and a great weekend in Vegas, and that money can be gone. So that's an
So
example of the difference between a will and a trust.
no, thank you for breaking that down for us. I appreciate it. So on my channel, we talk about personal finance, real estate,
Yes.
and the Carolinas. So I have to talk about real estate and bring real estate into this. What are the pros and cons of putting property into a trust? Or do you
Sure.
recommend putting property into a trust?
Yeah, and I think it depends too on your usage, right? So there's
Mhm.
all kinds of trusts. There's land trust, there's gun trust, there's living revocable trust, which is one of the more popular ones for
Yep.
estate planning tools. So I mentioned that a trust is a way for you to put strings on your money, but a trust is also private, meaning when someone passes away and they've transferred assets into the trust, it is private. So you cannot go up. If Chadwick Boseman had a trust and his assets were in his trust, We would not be able to look up. All of this would not be public record.
Mhm.
Prince's affairs, Aretha Franklin, Jackie Kennedy, you can look up her will online right now, the former first lady. All of that
Mhm.
is public. A trust is an opportunity to privately pass on assets and to manage your affairs when you pass away. So, a trust and transferring property into a trust is a way to transfer assets to your beneficiaries, to who you want it to, in a much simpler and more streamlined approach. Paint a picture. We are all walking around. Imagine a box, right? We are all walking around holding so many things. We have cryptocurrency. You might have Bitcoin. You might have stocks. You might have investments. You might have real estate. You might have
Mhm.
student loans. You might have a Target credit card. You might have a bank
Yeah.
account your mom set up for you when you were 5 that you forgot about. You might have a bank account here or there. We're all walking around with all of these things. When someone passes away, all of these things go everywhere. And the probate process is trying to pick up all of these pieces, everything you owe, everything you've accumulated, and it's trying to get it all together. And sometimes during this process, family miss assets. You
Yeah.
can look up your state's Department of Unclaimed Assets, whatever state you look in, and type in your name, type in somebody. Look, I help people get money from that all the time, and that's just for
Yeah.
free. Look it up, right? Because sometimes you miss assets. So when people pass away, you're trying to grab all those assets. And who does anybody owe? Do I owe anybody anything? Does anybody owe me anything? Let me get all that together before we distribute. But when you have a trust, you are putting all of your assets into the box. You are putting your home into the box. You are putting your bank accounts into the box. You are putting your stocks into the box. You are putting your life insurance policies. You're making the trusted beneficiary into the
Yes.
box. So when you pass away, everything is in the box and everything doesn't spill everywhere. You are passing this box nice and neatly to the next generation, and they get the box, they open it, and everything is in there, and then they can start managing the assets right away. There's not this long process of who gets of retitling the deed to someone, of who's paying the mortgage on the home when nobody technically owns it yet. To give you an example of, and I'll make this quick, of
Mhm.
a woman who passed away, and I have permission to share this story.
Yeah.
She passed away and she had 3 children. She didn't have much, but she managed to purchase a home. So this answers your question about
Yes.
transferring real estate. She managed to purchase a home, and she passed away suddenly, and her 3 children went to live with her sister. So I'll refer sister.
Okay.
Sister is now overwhelmed. Sister has her own children. She now has 3 more children. Her sister passed away without an estate plan. She didn't understand that there's a probate process and all of this. So it took her several months to even just get her bearings.
Mhm.
Who's paying the mortgage on that house
Yeah.
for several months while sister is now taking care of all these children and doing her day-to-day tasks?
Yeah.
You know how much property value has increased in the past couple of years? I know you know. It's crazy. It's
It's crazy. It's
it's crazy.
crazy. Yeah.
So what happens now is sister is now finding out, oh, I have to do stuff
Mhm.
because mom passed away. I didn't know. So she's contacting an attorney. She's trying to do stuff. By the time she gets on board with doing everything, that house is foreclosed on.
Yeah.
Now, those 3 children have lost wealth that they can never get back. That equity in that home could have sustained them for years.
Yes.
Had that home been in a trust, it would have been easy to manage. It would have been private. She could have sold that house. She could have kept that house, but it would have all been handled for her right away. And instead, that family lost generational wealth forever. And the bank took it and they made their money from it. And that's one example of just how not doing anything can set back a family for years. And I know many examples.
No, that you make a very good point, and I like when you said earlier, it makes the transfer neat. So when
Private.
somebody passes away, people need to grieve, and they're not like the sister in your example. You have all these other things you're worried about, other responsibilities you may have on your shoulders
Yeah.
that you don't know the next steps. But had she had the conversation and put the property into a trust and let her sister know what was taking place, or what was in place, just in case something happened to her, she would be able to. It would make it much easier for her. And if she's taking care of the kids, if she needed to sell that property to have those funds to take care of the kids, it would not have been such a burden on the sister that has that responsibility now.
Yeah,
So
a failure to estate plan can sometimes taint your legacy, right?
yeah.
Because sometimes families fight and bicker so much that those cracks cannot be mended. And instead of that warm, fuzzy feeling or the smell of pound cake that someone used to
Yeah,
make,
yeah,
or, a favorite dessert or dish, you feel bitter and a little upset because now you're left to pick up all of these pieces. An estate plan, love is a verb, it's
hmm
something that you do. And part of loving people is making plans. You make plans
yeah,
for college funds, which I need to do a better job at. But you make plans for college funds,
yeah,
you make plans for daycare, you make plans for doctor's appointments, but you also have to prepare your children, your loved ones, as to how to survive without you. And you also have to make plans to protect yourself, and sometimes protect yourself from yourself, because you don't
yeah.
know what your mindset's going to be like later.
That's true.
I have lots of stories on that too.
I have some clients, unfortunately, I have to talk to this week, to where the parents own a home,
Mhm.
but their mind just isn't there. So they have the power of attorney for their kid. The kids have the power of attorney, and trying to navigate everything. It's a tough conversations, and it's sad. But I'm
Mhm.
glad
Mhm.
that, again, they did have the power of attorney and
Yeah.
are able to help their parents in this situation.
Yeah, and I get those calls sometimes too
Hmm.
late. I need a power of attorney for somebody.
Yeah,
And when I talk to the person, I'm like, it's too late, because
too
you
late.
have to
Yeah.
be of sound mind to give
Yes.
somebody that power. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you said power of attorney, because
Hmm.
I mentioned earlier that estate plans protect you, protect your hustle, protect your family. So some of the documents in estate plan that protect you is a power of attorney,
Yes.
right? And a power of attorney gives someone the legal authority to manage your financial affairs. If you get into a car accident and someone was negligent, a power of attorney will give someone else the ability to start the lawsuit on your behalf, will
Hmm.
give someone the ability to negotiate with your mortgage company, to negotiate with your apartment, your leasing company, will give someone the authority to contact your credit cards for forbearance, right? So a
Yeah.
power of attorney, you're giving someone that power. And then there's also something called a healthcare power of attorney.
Yes.
And a
Yes.
healthcare power of attorney does a little bit of what we were talking about earlier, gives the person or the people you want to make important healthcare decisions about yourself. It gives them the power so they are allowed to, right? Because some people have special friends for years and years and years. They just don't get
Yeah.
married for whatever reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the decision that they make. But if
Hmm.
you do not do these documents, right? So if I am not married, but I am in a serious relationship for somebody with 10 or 15 years, if something happens to him, his mom can come in and say that I'm not allowed to visit. His mom can come in and make all of the decisions about his health care and pretty much shut me out,
Yeah.
because we have not done some of these planning strategies, some of these planning tactics. So it's very important that when you do your estate plan, that you do that comprehensive approach, because it's not just about a will. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
also about the power of attorney.
Perfect. Perfect. Now that leads me into the next question. You mentioned having special friends and everything. I
Yeah.
get people reaching out asking, and they ask like right at the inopportune times, to where I don't want to seem like a dick. Should my boyfriend be on the deed? I know we're talking about estates and all that,
What do you
but
say?
what do I say?
Yeah.
Hell no. I say now again, a lot of sometimes this is very inopportune because like the boyfriend's right there. No, I tell them, one, you need to have this conversation with an attorney and go in depth
Right.
about it. But I say for now, the time being, no. If that changes, you can draft that up later. What would you say as far as if they're not married, should you put your boyfriend or girlfriend on deed or on title of the property?
I support your position.
Hmm.
I do think that every situation is unique and is different,
Yes.
but there is this myth, this mindset that marriage is just a piece of paper. And they're like, no, it's just a piece of paper. Why do I need to get married?
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you that that's not true. It's more than just a piece of paper. Now,
Hmm.
there are a lot of strategies and tactics that you can try to do to kind of create some of the protections that marriage has. Uh,
Yes.
but it's more than just a piece of paper. There are tax benefits, there are inherent estate planning benefits that come with being married. Especially when we get into more complicated topics, we'll say this is part two, like
Yeah.
step up in basis and things along those lines, right?
Hmm.
So marriage is more than just a piece of paper. It's an institution with inherent benefits and privileges. And putting someone on a deed, putting someone in your estate plan who you are not married to is okay, but be prepared for some of the complications that may come about from that. And these complications, there are some complicated components of marriage
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
But I would be reluctant to do that because now you are giving someone part of your legacy. They're getting the good stuff without
Mhm.
necessarily getting some of the more challenging things, right? So I put
Yeah.
somebody on my deed, but they can walk away and get married to somebody and have a kid tomorrow, right?
Sure.
And then if something happens to me, now this man who I was with, who got a new wife and a new
Yeah.
bed and
Yeah. Yeah.
house, and now they'll be fighting with my mom or dad. They actually won't be fighting. They'll be owning it together.
Owning it. Oh, they'll be owning it. Yeah.
They won't
Yeah.
be fighting. So you really, especially when you have children, do you want to compromise your legacy with somebody?
That is, you make a very valid point. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, while we talk about kids as well, so I get the question regarding the boyfriend, and we talk about wills and estate planning, and they're like, "Well, I'm just going to put my child on the deed, my underage minor child on the deed." What would you recommend? What would you say?
I would not recommend
Yeah.
this. I don't know a better term for this, but there's like people call it, and this is not my term. They call it like poor man estate planning,
Yep.
where people will try to do all these little tactics and strategies
Yes.
to not create a plan. Just create a plan.
Yes.
Okay, putting your child on your deed or on your home exposes you to their potential creditors.
Yeah.
Right? Now you're vulnerable. I
Hmm.
don't know about you, but I was trying to find my way at 18, 19, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is very different than making them like an authorized user on your credit card. This is
Yes.
very different. If they get engaged in some foolishness, which children do, doesn't make them
Hmm.
bad people. It's just a season in their life. And people are finding themselves up until 32, 33.
I was gonna say, what age are we cutting that off? I was gonna say like 40, 45.
I'm knocking on 40. I'm trying to find myself still. So anyway, you are making yourself vulnerable
Yeah.
to your child's debts, to your
Hmm.
child's creditors. And you're also making your child vulnerable to your same issues. If your child goes to visit a friend and they fill up a bathtub and they forget about it and they go outside and they flood their friend's condo and now they owe their friend $300,000 for repairs, that judgment can come against your home that you put your child on. So no. Another reason why is because now you have also reduced some of the benefits of passing on property through a proper estate plan.
Yes.
You have made them vulnerable for the equity increase and the taxes from when you purchased that home at $150,000 that's now worth $450,000. You have made them vulnerable to those tax increases where if you had transferred it through a proper estate plan, they would not be as vulnerable to some of those increases. So those are just two examples as to why I would not necessarily suggest doing that. But again, every situation is different.
Yeah.
So I can't say with an iron fist, never do that, but just understand that these are some of the consequences.
There's always exceptions. There's always exceptions.
And there's
Um,
exceptions to the exception.
exactly. That's when you know you're really good. So the last question I want to wrap up on, because I get this as well from single men and single women saying, well, do I need to estate plan? I don't plan on having any kids. I'm not going to get married. Why? I don't need a plan. I don't need a will or an estate. What would your answer to that be?
Absolutely. And it goes back to my first piece.
Hmm.
Who do you want to make decisions about new?
Yeah.
Even if it's temporary, right? You need a plan for that. If you have fractured relationships with mom or dad, if mom and dad have fractured relationships with each other,
Yeah. Yeah.
you need for your peace, right? If you are on a road to recovery, the last thing you want is a person you would never want making decisions about your health to be making
Yeah.
those decisions,
Yep.
right? Because you might end up back at mama or daddy's house because your credit just tanks because no one was handling your affairs. You
Nice.
need an estate plan because you have to protect yourself in the event of a medical emergency. You need an estate plan because why should the state get any of your wealth if something happens to you? Why? Give it to the people who you want. You may be single, you may be unmarried, but you may have nieces and nephews. You might have godchildren. You might have people who you love dearly, who you would rather have your assets than a stranger. So than the state. So you absolutely need to protect yourself. The other thing about estate planning is it helps you get a balanced perspective about what's going on in your life.
It brings things home.
Yeah.
It makes it real. Yeah.
I talk to people and they're like, I don't know who I would want to take care of my
Hmm.
kids. I
Yeah.
can't think of anybody. I don't want to think about it. Well, I'd say, first of all, mama, anybody you pick sucks. Go ahead and accept that now
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
are not you.
Hmm.
They are not mom. They are not dad. They're not mommy or daddy. So whoever you pick is going to suck. So accept that. Now accept if you don't pick somebody, a judge who does not know you and does not know your family, they will pick somebody and your child might be in foster care until
Wow.
that decision is made. So I need you to get out there and meet people. So right, so it helps you to understand, my village is small. I don't have know a lot of couples or friends.
Yeah.
I need to get out there and meet people, right? Because
Hmm.
I need to, one, find people who would support me if something happens. And also, it's give and take. You have to be willing to support other people. So it helps you take inventory of what's going on in your life. You might be like, I don't know who I could trust to make important medical decisions about
Yeah.
myself. I need to make some friends.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need to, I need to restore that relationship with my brother or my half
Hmm.
sister or whoever. I need to see what's salvageable because I no man lives on an island, and that's very true.
That is very
So
true.
it helps you take stock and inventory of what you have going on in your life so that you can protect yourself if something happens to you. You know,
Hmm.
you don't want strangers out there having access to your money and making decisions about you. And there's a group of people who are very crafty. There's scammers in every field, and
Yes.
taking advantage of people who are sick or who are grieving. It happens, right?
Yeah. Most
Everybody sees
definitely.
the probate court and hear it, right? So remember when I said it's public? There are people there who are perusing records to see who received some money so I can go fall in love with them. Who received
Exactly.
some money so I can approach them with this business scheme or business plan. So these
Hmm.
things happen.
No, thank you for that. Real quick, can you share how everyone can get in contact with you? But before you do,
Okay.
to those of you who are watching, if you like this content, please leave a comment below. Also, shoot us a message. Let us know if you would like, and I'm putting you on the spot here, but if you would like Miss Perry to come back to do a live stream to where if you have questions, you can type it in and she can answer your questions as they come in. So how can they get in contact with
Sure. So my firm is easerlegal.com, EZER legal.com. I'm on Instagram at the Savvy Mommy, which is TheSavvyMommie. That is also my TikTok. You can email me, Savaun at User Legal. I'm very approachable. If I don't respond, my intern or assistant will respond, and we will let you know which one of us it is.
Yeah.
But yes, I look forward to all the connections. I'm just on a mission to empower people to
Mhm.
protect themselves and to protect their families because I grew up in a very large family. I am very family oriented, and when I was searching for my practice area,
Yeah.
this really felt like a good fit for me because the same way I protect my family, I want to make sure your family is protected.
I love it. I love it. So please reach out to her, schedule a consultation, whether it be in person and Zoom. Please reach out to her, as you heard, a wealth of knowledge, and she really has a passion for what she does. And I believe it's a necessary. It's a
Yeah,
necessary to have an estate in place because
life happens.
life happens. Life happens. So thank you again, and hopefully we will have you on for a live stream. And
Yes, absolutely. I would love to do that. And thank you so much for having me.
no,
This has
you're welcome.
been a wonderful conversation, and I love everything that you're doing. So you have all of my respect and congratulations.
Thank you. We will talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, bye.